You know which one.
Okay, here we go.
We're ready.
I call to order the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Aransas Pass, August 6, 2018, at 6 p.m. Let's all rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the blessings that you bestowed upon us. We ask, my Father, to be with us. Give us your guidance, your wisdom, to move the city of Aransas Pass forward. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we go to presentations and proclamations. Presentation of proposal fiscal year 2018-2019 operating budget and capital improvement plan.
Let's get a drum roll.
Where we are, and I'll wait for Sandy, and I don't have it in front of me, but the memory, we had the budget work session, as you know, several days ago, and we are looking for a certain, aiming for a certain fund balance amount, and we are above, been able to, with Sandy's help, and been able to take that above where we were during the work session, which is good news. And also well, here we go.
I'm sorry. I had to go take some water. Okay, we're going to be talking about the budget. We filed the budget on August 1st with the city secretary. It's on our website already, and we're hoping to pass out a copy of our proposed budget. Our budget is with the proposed tax rate increase that we had talked about during our budget workshop.
Yes, we did.
Okay. And we are going to be getting only one position, which is a code enforcement officer for the planning department. The city manager did hear what the council wanted, and and there was a big stress on cleaning up the city, so we went ahead and budgeted that one new position. We also budgeted some money there to handle some of the demolition process. There was some other stars and priorities given to the sewer plant, which is money for not the sludge, but is it the wet? The sludge removal, the wet bed. And we are going to be moving forward with that as well. We have our capital improvement plan, and that's part of that. There's going to be some improvements to the harbor that was presented by the harbor master during that presentation, and we've appropriated $30,000 to get that going. I'm so sorry. And basically, we are going to have to use some of our money that we've applied from the CDL loan to go ahead and bridge us over the shortfall that we are going to be having. Even though we are planning, we presented the budget with a tax rate increase, there is still a shortfall that's going to be there, because obviously we were not going to be collecting as much revenue from property tax. Oh, thank you, corazón. From property tax as we had in years before. So we are budgeting to use, if the property rate increase goes as planned, we're planning to use about maybe $215,000 of our CDL loan to bridge us over for the general fund. Now, obviously, we've lost some customers during the storm. With our water and wastewater fund, we have lost some customers. That fund is being budgeted at a negative of $324,000 right now. That's where it stands. We're hoping that once, we see the construction going out there in the hotels, the apartment buildings, we see the new construction coming in from Hogan Homes and all of that. Hopefully, as people are coming back into the city, as we're getting back the apartment complex, we are gonna be able to get more accounts back on our system, and we're not gonna be doing, as badly as we are right now. We are hurting in the wastewater fund. Obviously, we don't know when the hospital is ever gonna come back, or when the nursing home is going to be coming back, because those are those are big accounts for us. And the municipal development district has agreed to go ahead and subsidize the deficit for the aquatic center as well, not only the civic center. So they've budgeted $200,000 to transfer to the aquatic center to subsidize their deficit, and that's helped us a lot because the general fund doesn't have to pull that money aside to cover their expenses. And obviously, they're going to continue to subsidize the deficit for the civic center, and they've budgeted $250,000 for that. So overall, for both the aquatic and civic center, they've budgeted about $450,000 to cover those two deficits in those two programs. I don't know if I've left anything else, Gary?
The thing I'd like to point out too is that on the revenue side that Sandra is referring to, we're going to propose, and it's scheduled right now, a work session. We need to have a second work session to get your input. Not all the council people were there for the July 30th meeting, so all of you need to be there, if at all possible, to talk about the revenue side and revenue options we have as a group. And Thursday at 5:30 is what we're looking at to discuss that and get your thinking, get your input. Can't make any final decisions, but can get your thoughts as far as the revenue side.
Yes.
And that's this week.
What we propose doesn't mean is what you have to adopt at the end of the day. We are, as the city manager is proposing, for us to go with our effective tax rate, which is the higher rate than what we're at right now. But that doesn't mean that that's what the council has to go with. I will let you all know that you can go ahead and come back and turn around and say, we're gonna go back to where we were with the current tax rate. Just know that in doing so, we are gonna have to use more of that CDL loan to bridge us that year. You know, we're gonna probably have to use about maybe, instead of the 211, you're looking almost at $474,000. So that's, I just want to let you all know, you don't have to go with the tax increase as proposed. Just like Gary said, we do need to discuss our revenue options and where we're going to be, those revenue streams are coming from for us to be able, you know, to keep going.
And we're now getting into the work session stuff, so.
Yes. Sorry about that.
Okay. No.
I know. Sorry, Gary's probably like, no. Anything, do you have any questions? No, sorry, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sandra.
Now we go to board and commission appointments, and we have Renee Takar for the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Good evening. We are, staff's recommending the appointment of Renee to the Planning and Zoning Commission to fill Shirley Gallagher's vacant seat. The Planning and Zoning Commission is supposed to have a total of 9 commissioners. Right now they have 8 with the 1 vacancy. And I likewise am not sure how to pronounce his last name, so I will try my best not to butcher it. But Mr. Thacker expressed interest at the beginning several months ago in joining the Planning and Zoning Commission. He had business outside of the states, and so he is back. He would like to go ahead and consider to be considered to be put on the board. Staff's recommending the approval. We feel that he's active in the community, active with the Chamber of Commerce, the Unity Group, and active business operator and owner in Aransas Pass.
Okay, I make a motion that we appoint Renee Thakar to the Aransas Pass Planning and Zoning Commission.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Now we go to the consent agenda. All of the following items in the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of this item unless the council member so requests. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we go to Gary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. It's that time of the year again. We hear from the Chamber of Commerce. Last year, it just happened to be my first meeting here, and had a very good report from the Chamber on what has happened in the past year and how the dollars are being spent that are received. And we have a PowerPoint that we will now give to Rosemary as a switcher. You have your own switcher. You move forward, just hit there.
This little mouse thing here, this.
No, this right here. Right there. I'll move it over and get you up here in a second.
Hello, good evening. I'm going to switch my glasses back and forth because I can see you, but I can't read, so.
Don't move the clicker a second.
Yeah.
I'm not touching it.
Pull it up. Just let it set it down. It's a mouse too.
Oh.
Yeah.
There we go.
Why don't you give it to me, Eric?
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so this year I did something a little bit different. I spent a lot of time on this. If you've on my social media, you'll know that I spent a lot of time on this report for the last 3 weeks. And I did it for the reason of, obviously, the hurricane. I wanted y'all to see what happened in 2016 versus what happened in 2017, and now up to date what's going on with 2018, because I didn't want you to be surprised at the end of 2018 when you see our numbers drop for good reason, obvious reasons for sure. Okay, so your first slide is going to be the annual visitor center tracking information. You're going to see 17,000 people came into our Chamber of Commerce Visitor Center or called for interest in our area, and that dropped down to 14,935 at the end of 2017. We had a really good year last year up until the storm, obviously. We would have exceeded those numbers by the end of the year if it wouldn't have been for Hurricane Harvey. In 2018, we're significantly down. We're up to $4,514, and a lot of that is the fact that we also lost the visitor center in the process. We were out of the visitor center from August the 25th all the way through we opened back up at the end of September, but we were not in our normal place of business. We were out on the other side of town, and it took a lot of people a long time to figure out where we were, so that's where we saw the drop. Also, we had phone lines that were down, and so we were operating off of mobile phones at that time. So one would go to the other, and it would drop to the other line, and it just wasn't really a good, effective way of operating at that time. So your next slide is going to be, and I think y'all have these, right? So this is for everyone else in the room. These are our visitor center tracking in 2016 on what people were looking for. It shows you, I don't know how well y'all can see that, it's got the meeting facilities, kayaking. These are just things that people ask for in general, and we sort of track them as they come in or call. And then I did it in a pie chart so people could really get a good vision of what we have. 30% of our business comes from Houston, which switched over the years. I've told y'all that probably 2 or 3 years in a row that we've changed. We've geared to the Houston market. Now more of the people are coming in from Houston, San Antonio, and then we had Aransas Pass. In 2017, something really interesting happened because we ended up going from Houston to Corpus Christi to San Antonio, and then Austin, and Aransas Pass dropped. So after that, 2017, people were really starting to come in from outside the area, and not as much interest from the locals, but more from the outside. And those are numbers from our website, so those are hard numbers. The Google Analytics pull those numbers for us. It tells us where they're coming from. And then, again, it tells you where they're coming from for 2018. No one's looking for the casino boat anymore. I guess they got the message that the boat's gone. And then relocation 11, birding 41, meeting facilities 46 in 2018. That's really hard to look at because we have our civic center not in the best condition it can be in right now, but we have already had 46 people asking about it. So we really need to try to get that place running if and when that's ever possible. And then other local chamber-related items was 1,496 this year because so many people are asking about Harvey. So we literally switched from being a chamber and a visitor center to Harvey-related, community-related things. People really came to the chamber when they were in need of help, and we were there for that. And we obviously we were pleased to be there for that. These are our website analytic page reports. It tells you.
I'm sorry. When you said as far as meeting facilities, are you still directing them to Sarah?
Yes, we still do.
Good,
Mm-hmm.
good, making
But what you've noticed that the Rockport Paws and Taws is no longer there.
Right.
So, and then the Portland one, even their Chamber of Commerce can't even have their luncheons there because they're always sold out, even during the week. So the demand is coming this way for our Civic Center now. On this next slide, you're going to see website analytic page views. These are the people that are looking at our site. The pink are new visitors, 2016, 2017, and 2018. And then the bottom is the existing users that come in regularly. The next slide is your what people are interested in when they're looking at our website, and it pretty much stays the same. It goes from Shrimpery to the calendar to the events, stay and play, lodging. It doesn't really change that much year after year. And then here's the 2018 analytics. Again, Houston's on top, and then we move into Corpus Christi, which we also saw with Shrimpery. We have a heavy market for Shrimpery from Corpus Christi residents and locals, and then San Antonio, and then Austin. If you look at this chart, you're going to see Oklahoma City on it. This is the 2018, yeah, pretty strange. 516 people from Oklahoma City were looking at our website from April all the way to June. I don't know what was going on in the area, but that's how many people were on here from Oklahoma City.
There were a lot of crews here from Oklahoma and Oklahoma City, so that may
And they must have
account
left.
for some of that.
They must have left because in July it dropped off completely.
That's right, people working voluntary.
This is our Shrimpery attendance. I always give y'all these numbers because you guys help us a lot with Shrimpery, so I want y'all to know how well we're doing. We had 43,000 people this year at Shrimpery. It's down from last year. Last year was our best year at 59,000. Obviously, they came, most of them came, and then they left because of the dirt, the debris site that was there, and it was like a windstorm in the Sahara Desert. So, I mean, we did good. Luckily, we had a grant from Rebuild Texas to help us. We knew we were going to suffer financially, and so we went in and asked for Rebuild Texas to help us fund some of the expenses. So we came out okay anyway on our end at the chamber side. Shrimpery is very important to us. 59,000 people last year we brought in Tracy Lawrence. We had a very good year, and because of that, we were able to carry ourselves through the time when Hurricane Harvey was here, because that income is what carried our chamber. The chamber's damages were $100,000. They were $99,000, and our insurance only covered us up to $60,000, and the rest is depreciation that they're still fighting us on. They don't want to give us the rest of it. And we do have an attorney for that. And these are our traffic counts for Port Aransas. I did get the ones for July. This is 2016, 2017, and 2018 at the bottom, and they've dropped significantly. There's not really any place to stay in Port Aransas right now, so you can see why they're not coming in. And this, I did get the July ones last week, and they were down about 20,000 as well. This chart was already done by the time I got that. And these are our annual billboards and the cars passing in the millions. So we had 10 million cars pass, what year is this? 2017 on the San Antonio board. And then the Wharton board, which was only up half the time because of the damages, we had 2 million. And then the Highway 281, 181, and 177 were 5.6. And then, but those boards are moving. We're going to move those boards around. They've been there for a while, so we're shifting those to another area so that we have a different audience. And this is our hot fund budget that we budgeted over the past 3 years, what we've asked for, including the billboards that the city gives us funding for, in addition to the regular budget. This year, we've received $66,000. Last year, we received $191,000, and $15,000 of that was the city boards that we do in San Antonio and the Houston area. So our total was $175,000. This year, we're asking for $197,000, which is just an estimate, but that'll include the $17,000 that goes into the annual boards with Houston and San Antonio. And then this right here, I put this in. This is more chamber related. This really doesn't have a lot to do with the visitor center, but I think it's important that you see Dr. Lee's reports from the Business Innovation Center, because this page right here really is what interested me. It shows you the impact from Hurricane Harvey. It shows you the population in 2016, and it tells you how many family units we had in the area. Between Rockport and Aransas Pass. Aransas Pass was considered one of the most highly impacted areas on the coast, with Port Aransas and Rockport. So they did a specific study on Aransas Pass in addition to the one they did for Rockport and Port Aransas. And if you look at this chart, you'll see that our single families were at 2,709 units, and Rockport's was 3,993. Our annual business sales in Aransas Pass are higher than the ones in Rockport. That's hard to believe, but we have 3 dealerships here and 2 boat dealerships here. And then we have Walmart and Tractor Supply and Lowe's. So our sales are much higher than theirs are, so needless to say, our impact will be much higher when we get to the end of this year and see the 2017 reports. And then at the bottom, you see the property damages. Even though Rockport had more homes damaged, you're gonna see that FEMA assistance went out more and deeper in Aransas Pass because of the income, because of the people that were affected, the higher income people that were in the Key Allegro and those types of areas obviously didn't need FEMA as much or didn't need the assistance as much as our multifamily housing units that are here in Aransas Pass that are, by the way, still not up and running. And this is just our sales. None of this right here, this is just kind of breaks down what industry it is, but these are not numbers for this year. This is 2016 that they're giving us. And these are our professional memberships that we use for the Visitor Center. We are with the Hotel Motel Lodging Association, the Texas Tourism Industry, Texas Association of Fairs and Events, and the Texas Coastal Bend Regional Tourism Bureau. We also are members of ACCE and TCCE. This page shows all of the advertising outlets that we are associated with and we use to promote Aransas Pass. We use billboards, Lamar Billboards and Outdoor Signs, Spectrum, which is the Dallas TV, Suddenlink, Houston, San Antonio, and the local channels, which we had just run the brand new Visitor Center commercial last year, the week before the storm, if y'all remember that. We had just built that and we had just run it. So we're still running that commercial right now. And then we have promotional material, mail-outs, relocation guides, visitor center request guides, and flyers. We use the Progress and the Caller Times and the Index and any other newspaper we need, depending on what we're trying to promote. We have text maps, which is a map that we use that give to everyone that walks in the chamber and anyone who asks for a relocation, and the city uses those as well. And then we use our 121 Interactive is our visitor guide. They're the ones who build our visitor guide. Mascot Media, Texas Coastal Bend Guide, Coastal Scenes, and Coastal Choice Media. And then the rest of them are other magazines that we use and designers for our ads. And then we have iHeartMedia, Enlighten Image, who does our commercial, ICA, Malcon, and KHMC. And this is our trade shows that we've been doing. In 2016, we did the Houston, Dallas, and San Antonio. You can see Houston at 16,000 people. Dallas, 12,000 people, and we didn't do the San Antonio one that year. I think that's wrong. I think that's opposite. That's not right, not the 2016 number. I don't know what happened there. But 2017, we did 14,000 people in Houston that we saw. Dallas, we did not do the Dallas one in 2017 because it was at the same time as the Houston one, and we had to pick and choose which one we wanted to go to. It's the same company that does them, so I don't know why they did that. But we know that we're going to see more people in Houston, and more people from Houston are going to come here, so we chose that one. And then San Antonio just rocks. 19,000 people come into their show in 2017, and 21,000 people were there this year. We went to that show. And this is our billboard that we use for the Visitor Center on Houston, San Antonio, and all the other ones that we do. And this is some of our social media stuff. We manage 4 pages out of the Chamber of Commerce. These are the 4 pages. We manage the Visitors Aransas Pass one, but Dean Thomas from Slow Ride helps us a lot with that one because he's out on the water a lot, and I don't get to be. So that helps me a lot. And these are just some of the feeds that we do. Anytime we see something that one of our businesses or events happening in Aransas Pass, we post them, we share them, and we don't charge for that. It's just really trying to get people to come to the area. This is our visitor center. We're finally home. We came back April the 1st. Our phone lines are back up, and we're back in business. We still see the decrease, but we're able to answer the phones, and our doors are open, and we're able to service everyone that comes in. This is just a copy of some of our visitor guides and maps. And then I'm going to read you something that I wrote, just because I want you to know the process between the time Hurricane Harvey happened and now. The Chamber's main office was unoperational and forced to relocate temporarily. The Chamber of Commerce Visitor Center office became the main hub for residents in need and businesses seeking assistance. Incoming calls, messages, texts, and emails were mostly related to the needs of the local residents. Staff relied heavily on social media for the public and email for the businesses. We relied heavily on media, offering staff mobile numbers and email addresses to contact the chamber with staff contacts until phone lines could be secured. A set of 5 mobile units were purchased to handle the influx of calls, and Frontier was able to forward the main line to the mobiles. By the end of September, we were back up and running. Setting up on Commercial Street in our temporary space, we had minimal inquiries related to tourism. Most calls were related to FEMA, lodging, housing, businesses opened and closed, residents in need of assistance, donations, and distribution. At 7 a.m. on August the 24th, before the mayor called for the evacuation, we canceled one of our biggest events, which was the legislative session with Todd Hunter. We had over 150 people RSVP for that event. We boarded up the chamber, secured everything, and we sent the staff on. By Monday after the storm, all of my staff was back in place. The Chamber of Commerce was called on by city administration to serve as a community support for the city of Aransas Pass during the most critical time. They also provided me a place to operate out of at City Hall. One of my staff members stayed home in Sinton because they didn't get as much damage, and she was able to communicate with our business, find out who was open, and find out who was closed. The other staff members went to the service center where we did the distribution, which Bill didn't volunteer to help us with. So that was amazing. Let's see, where am I? We serviced people we served residents from San Patricio, Refugio, and Aransas County. We turned no one away. The center was fully operational for 2.5 weeks and was moved to the United Methodist for an additional 4 weeks. While all of this was happening, the staff was also dealing with major damages to the visitor center building. Damages so severe, we were forced to relocate temporarily. The building was under construction from September through March. Repairs and restoration were upwards of $97,000, with TWIA only wanting to pay us $69,000. The remainder is yet to be issued. We officially moved back on April the 1st. During this time, the CEO also worked with area chambers on a fundraising event called Boots Business and Barbecue. Proceeds from this event were to go directly to our local businesses. Aransas passed through these efforts, and matching grants distributed 22 local businesses with $2,600 initially. A third round of funds was distributed last week to coastal businesses. Some 250 businesses received $400,000, 49 of which were from Aransas Pass. Future fundraising opportunities will provide for grants, business and restoration, and community projects in the late fall. Now, we are working on something right now that we have a big secret about, but it's going to be massive. We expect to raise about $1 million, and if we can do that, Rebuild Texas will also match us another $1 million. And this time, we're going to focus on businesses, but also enhancement to our communities. So you'll be able to see it in other areas like parks and recreation. And then I wanted to give you an update on the housing. Right now, well, after the storm, we had 10 apartment complexes down. Right now, Windy Shores is still only 30% up and running. The Housing Authority is still only 30% up and running. We only have one apartment complex, which is the senior living, that's completely restored. The rest of them are still down, which brings me to my next point. We are 200 children down in our school system right now. Those kids are not here right now. They're somewhere else. So our enrollment went from 1,800 to 1,600 as of the end of last year. Obviously, the major losses to our impact was our hospital. Sandra just said that. I get a call from TxDOT. They wanted to know about the signs. They wanted to take them down because we have hospital signs that we say we have a hospital. I did get in contact with the hospital representatives, and they're telling me it's at least 3 years and asked us to go ahead and take the signs down. So our hospital is at least 3 years out, if at all. Obviously, our water tower was a big deal. We lost our water tower, and it's still not there. So, I mean, things are moving, but they're moving kind of slow for Aransas Pass. And then the Lexington Place nursing home, I cannot get someone to contact me to save my life. I don't know what happened to them. They left. The one thing I will tell you that I got out of this was the fact that we needed to have a nonprofit organization to take in funds immediately. The day that storm was hitting, we should have had a nonprofit in place to get funds in. So as of today, Stacy and I have filed for a 501c nonprofit organization called I Heart Aransas Pass, directly for this exact kind of thing. And the heart is going to stand for harmony, enthusiasm, attitude, resilience, and togetherness. That's what it's going to stand for, and that's what we're going to use anytime we ever have a need in our community. And then we have another idea that we came up with, in addition to this, was a 1 year, I don't want to say celebration because I don't feel like there's anything to celebrate, but a 1 year recognition of being past that storm and moving on. And we're having a big framed piece of wood made out of debris in the shape of a hand. And it's being built right now by South Texas Creations, and it's got a big heart in the middle, and it says, "Out of the darkness came the light of the hands and hearts of thousands." And we're going to give that to the city when we're done with it.
Thank you.
I'm done. Do y'all have questions? I need water.
I do have a question on the 501c3. Are you going to do any administrative fees, or that's
Nope.
strictly all?
All raising money.
Even Stacy is donating her time and
Yes.
and everything.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I was gonna say, there's an apartment on Cleveland, the one, that used to be the Royal Oaks apartment.
Yeah. St. Lawrence one?
I see a big sign that they're open.
Did they open?
The small one. They're taking.
Across the street?
In the process, yeah.
Yeah, they're in, that's what, I mean, the other one across the street, the one that, the smaller
Yeah.
one, not the, they said now leasing, is
Oh,
what I saw
good.
today.
Okay.
So there's, I don't know how many apartments they have there, but at least it's good to see that that's.
I'll go talk to them
Yeah,
too.
at least that one's, the other one might be a while
Yeah.
out. It will be open. Thank you, Rosemary.
Thanks,
Thank you so much.
Okay, Mr. Mayor and Council, next item is the St. Mary Star of the Sea asking, as they do each year, to close
Gary.
Rife.
Gary, we need to vote on item
I'm sorry.
7.1.
You gotta vote on it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Thank you.
Favor of the council?
What are we voting on?
What are we voting on?
Tourism agreement between the
This
city
is
and the
considered
chamber.
Oh,
to
okay,
include the-
agreement between the.
The same agreement that we have with the Chamber of Commerce,
Oh.
I believe.
Yeah, same. It's one we've always done like this. Well, I make a motion, we approve the agreement between the publicity and tourism agreement between the city of Aransas Pass and the Aransas Pass Chamber of Commerce.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we can go to the next
One
one.
out. Me and Ray away.
Mr. Mayor and Council, as they do each year, St. Mary Star of the Sea temporarily wants to close Rife from Goodnight to Wilson on October 27th. This is for their annual event that they have, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. For their fall festival, if you agree.
I make a motion that we temporarily close Rive Street from Goodnight to Wilson, October 27th, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. for the Fall Festival at St. Mary's.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next item, Mr. Mayor and Council, we do this do this frequently. The September 3rd is a city holiday. We're requesting that the meeting be changed to Tuesday, the council meeting, September 4th, if you agree.
Okay.
I make a motion that we reschedule the September 3rd meeting to September 4th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item is renewal of an agreement with the Ultima Real Estate Company for property that the city owns across from Pelican Cove, where the pump station number 2 is in that general area. There are people interested in it, but the agreement that we have with Jim Paxton, with Ultima, is expiring, so requesting that you renew that for that 2.329 acres, if you agree.
Well, I make a motion, we renew the agreement with Ultima Real Estate for the 2.329 acres of Highway 361 at the harbor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor and Council, the next two items are related, 7.5 and 7.6. The first one is, let me pull up that memo, I apologize. First item is task order number 1, continuing the agreement with H2O Partners for the public assistance services. They are in the audience. Eric Howard is in the audience, also Pam, and I've forgotten your last name, Hawkins, And they would like to report to you what's happened so far. And what this would do would continue the relationship, but what has happened so far, Eric and Pam can report on that.
Sure. And I'll take this opportunity, thank you for having us here, and it's been a pleasure working with Gary and his fine staff. We work with communities all over the country, and let me tell you, you guys are on it. The people have been responsive. Every request for documentation has been submitted on time and accurately. Your requests through FEMA are moving with good speed because of that, and we don't foresee any delays going forward. First order of business, I want to introduce you. I've met you all when you first engaged us. This is Pam Hawkins. She's our Director of Program Operations at H2O. Pam started with us at Katrina. She reviewed the electric co-op refunding effort from FEMA after all the power transmission lines in the South were down. She spent a couple years down in Mississippi working Katrina, and then worked with the National Flood Insurance Program on a training process. Pam was in Joplin, Missouri after the tornado there devastated that community in 2011, and in Alabama after the tornadoes in Tuscaloosa. And then I sent her to New York, where she spent 2 years working for the state of New York in the Superstorm Sandy recovery. So Pam is obviously the brains of the operation, knows what she's talking about, and runs a pretty tight ship with us too. So with our team on the ground here and with the excellent folks from the city of Aransas Pass, we're making very good progress. And we'll give you a quick report on some of those projects and then give you a little bit of insight into what the next steps will be. As I said, the compliance has been excellent on behalf of your staff, a great professional group of folks. This task order will extend us through, we estimate, probably May of next year, maybe into June. There'll be a lull in our activity after we submit all the project worksheets to TDEM, the Texas Division of Emergency Management, and FEMA. While the ball's in their court, we don't bill you anything. I won't see you much until we start to see some of those grant applications come back, the public assistance grants. We forecast FEMA will reimburse you for our fees. Our fees are recoverable as part of the recover effort. We forecast that we won't use half of the eligible dollars. What would you say, Pam? We think somewhere.
That we'll use?
No, that they'll.
No. Or that we'll get back.
Yeah, they'll get back somewhere.
Depending on, based on the estimate of the PWs when they're written, between $200,000 and $500,000.
Yeah, so between $200,000 and $500,000 will come back to you above our fees. It's restricted.
Yes, and so it'll cover training, emergency response training, recovery efforts, debris management plans, mitigation efforts that FEMA did not cover at the time.
So it'll go into your budget. I wouldn't count. What's your fiscal year? Is it September or October?
October through September.
Okay. So maybe at the very end of next year, you could see some of this DAC money. It's called Direct Administrative Cost, DAC we call it for short. Will come back to you. I don't know if I'd put it in this budget or not. It depends on how fast FEMA pays that. It has to be based on the final.
2 years from now.
Yeah. So it's the final dollar. So once they know the value of all the projects that you're submitting, they take a percentage of that that's eligible as direct administrative cost. As I said, we'll bill less than half of it. You'll have $300,000 or $400,000, $500,000 that'll come back to you. But it is restricted. As Pam says, you can only use it, and it's restricted for good use. Your emergency management staff, your police department, your fire department, your city staff, Sandra in the finance department, can all attend training on how they can be better prepared to help you recover. You can also apply some of that money directly to mitigation projects, and it's there for you to use. There's no timetable for spending it, but you have to identify the projects on the front end before you can pull it down. So they don't just give you the money and then ask you to account later. You have to tell them, and we'll help guide you through. Pam and staff will help guide you through that process to get back. A couple quick items. So some of your larger dollar items, the Harbor Master Building, with consultation with Gary and Sandra, the architectural estimate, I think, are going out for bid in the next couple weeks.
We're meeting with the architect this week.
There you go. Once that's submitted, because the building was a total loss, they'll have to rebuild that building according to all of your current building specification and ordinances, which is a good thing. Makes the dollar value higher. Your old building didn't have ADA ramps and all that, so you'll have to include that in the new building, but it'll make the dollars bigger. We've also are going to apply on your behalf to FEMA so that you don't have to build it back in the same spot. It'll be at your discretion to move it in another place. You can add mitigation features, you can elevate it. FEMA likes to see that, likes to see you do things to make it more resilient, but the grant is yours to use as you wish to build that. And if you decide to add to that building and make it larger and more functional than the previous building, you can do that, but those are with your dollars. So for example, if the estimates come in at $300,000 or $400,000 to rebuild the existing footprint with ADA and other improvements, if you decide to add square footage onto that for other use, you certainly can, but that's on your dime.
So it's not gonna fall into the same thing as a water tower?
In what sense?
The same thing as a water tower, it's
Oh, the improved?
yes.
Any improved, we are responsible for.
Yeah, it's on your dime. If
That's
you-
correct.
No, but on the design.
But on the design and
But
stuff.
we're gonna work with the architect to make sure we have as little of that as possible. That's
Exactly.
one of the reasons we're meeting with them this week, and Chuck will be in on that meeting. But
There's
you're
a
correct.
program, our staff will work with Gary, there's a program called 406 mitigation dollars that FEMA will apply to make your building more resilient, if that means elevating it or providing hardening on the water side of the building or whatever features they will approve. So there are some programs, 406 mitigation, that can exceed the actual rebuilding cost, but that's up to FEMA to approve that. And working with your architects, they can incorporate those into the design of that building. So they will keep you abreast of that. And the same thing goes to the water tower. The water tower design is being solicited from engineering firms, I take it?
That's correct. We
Yeah.
have a meeting tomorrow to discuss it in more detail, and you'll be in on that meeting. We have
Correct.
some issues we need
At
to
10
work out,
o'clock.
but it is moving forward.
Right. And with the water tower too, I think there were several alternate designs that were considered. The single pedestal design didn't seem to gain traction with
Yeah,
FEMA.
That was a, yeah.
Yeah.
That was the issue right there.
Yeah, they wanted, I mean, they, obviously you can build it that way, but FEMA's only gonna build back what was there. And we were unable to convince them of the mitigation benefits to having a single pedestal versus the 4 feet, right?
But we tried.
We tried, yep. The second item on your agenda is the mitigation task orders. And this is for two pieces of work. One is for mitigation applications. There's a program called 404 Mitigation Grants that's funded through FEMA to the state of Texas. And it's also based on a formula that is calculated based on the total damages for the storm, for Harvey statewide. And this grant program is open to anyone in the state of Texas. However, because you guys were a landfall community, you took the brunt of this storm, it is our firm belief that you will receive special consideration for your grant application. So there's a good reason to move quickly, to get them in ahead of the rest of the state, because someone in El Paso or Amarillo can also apply for this. But we believe that Tatum's going to give you favored consideration with it. Kat's done a great job in preparing those along with Gary, the initial applications. FEMA has also activated their HMTAP contract, the Hazard Mitigation Technical Assistance Program. That gives you free assistance from them, from FEMA, to help prepare these applications, and we've counseled that we certainly think you should take advantage of that. We'll be there to look over their shoulder. The feds don't always get it right, so we're happy to look over their shoulder to make sure that the application is as you want it for the programs as you want to see them. The second part of that task order is to manage those grants and all the reporting that's required once you're successful. And again, we really believe that you will be successful with that. The other thing to leave you with, and Gary and I have spoken about this, and after January, when the legislative session is back in town in Austin, being an Austin company with deep ties to the state government there, we're happy to host you if you'd like to come up for a legislative day to meet folks there with the General Land Office, with TDM. These are people who we do business with every day. We're happy to take you around, introduce you to some of those decision makers at that level, and obviously it would be a good time to meet with your state legislators and that you know well. You don't need us to introduce you to your reps and senators, but I would consider that, and you know, probably look at February or March. There's a cycle there. They come back into session in January, and there's a flurry of there's flurry of bull too, but there's a flurry of bill filing in January, and then there's sort of a lull while they're in committee until the votes really start happening in April. So sometime in February or early March, before your tourist season kicks off here, we'd be happy to escort you around. You're welcome to use our offices to convene any of those meetings that you see fit. And then finally, I'll leave you with this, that you know, we engaged and came on board with you in May, I believe, April, May, and you know, 6-7 months after Harvey and after the storm had passed. It is our advice that you consider putting out an RFP for pre-position recovery services for the next storm. And I know you don't want to hear it, but there will be a next storm. It's our counsel that you put out an RFP and you solicit a firm like ours. We'd be honored to continue to work for you, but there's lots of good firms out there who do what we do. And that way, if the next storm hits, you could activate the contract and have the recovery efforts start immediately without the long gap that you've witnessed here. And there were certainly good reasons, and no blame for the timeline that you were on, but we can certainly avoid it in the future. And the contract could be structured such that it would be your total discretion when and whether and if you ever activated it. I would suggest you solicit one with a base year and 3 or 4 years of renewal, you know, so you've got a good period out there. You could include in that contract some emergency management exercises, tabletop exercises. Bring a firm in to help you walk through those activities that should happen in the middle of a storm and right after a storm. The money to pay for those activities will be there in this DAC that we just spoke of, the leftover administrative fees that we won't draw down. And we suggest that that's something that you consider. You have plenty of time to look at that. Storm season's here. Doesn't look like anything's cooking offshore right now. So, yeah. So, are there any questions? Anything I can answer for you or try? Pam, try better. Anything else?
Thank you. Thank you
Well,
for all your services.
You folks are great to work for. We work for a lot of people around the country, and you guys run a tight ship here.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor and Council, there are 2 items you heard Eric refer to, and that's 7V, 7.5, and 7.6. The first one is for the public assistance continuation, and the second one is the hazard mitigation, which we are submitting grants for right now and asking for their assistance if you agree to that. The first one, again, would be the continuation of the public assistance portion.
Well, I'll make a motion that we continue the, extend the public assistance service agreement with H2O Partners.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the next item is the hazard mitigation proposal. Task 1 and 2.
Okay. Well, I make a motion that we approve the professional service agreement with H2O Partners for hazard mitigation management services, task order 1 and 2.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I'll now turn it over to the city attorney, who will talk with us about annexation.
Mayor and City Council members, ordinance number 2018-4221 is before you. This is the final annexation of the Motel 6 area. You'll recall I have submitted this to you before. It should be in front of you. All the major steps involving the annexation of this property have been met and are in compliance. Tonight is the final vote to finally annex that property, to adopt the service plan that has been posted and presented to the public, and if so adopted and ordinance passed, notices regarding the same will be sent immediately first thing tomorrow morning. The annexation will be effective immediately tonight. The notices will be sent to all property owners, lien holders, mortgagees, and all local, state, and federal agencies to apprise them that our city boundaries have been extended to include that property. So there needs to be a vote to pass ordinance number 2018-4221.
Well, I'll make a motion, we approve ordinance 2018-4221.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So now we go to finances. Consider enact and take action to adopt resolution number 2018-828, opposing that the San Francisco County Appraisal District amend 2018 budget by retaining surplus funds from 2017 San Patricio CAD operations and then committing those funds to the district's litigation reserve account in an amount of $255,429.
Good evening. Basically, what the San Patricio, San Pat Appraisal District is doing is they've amended their budget, and they have a surplus of $250,000 in change, and they have a litigation fund, and their board of directors wants to build that fund up to $1 million. And right now, I believe they have like $740,000 in change in that fund. So basically, the appraisal district can do two things: can refund that money back to the entities. If they refund us back that money, they'll give us a credit in our next quarterly bill, which will be about $6,000. That's what we get out of that. Or they can appropriate it, and that's what they're trying to do, is appropriate it towards their litigation fund. And what we're asking of the council right now is to go ahead and deny their amended budget, which is appropriating those $250,000, and hopefully other entities in the area, other cities and school districts will do the same, and enough more than 50% does the same, then they will go ahead and will, in essence, forcing their hand to go ahead either to revise their budget or to give us the credit that belongs to the city of $6,000. It's up to, right? It's, I know that I've spoken with the school district, and I believe that the school district is also going to pass, well, they're going to be, the finance director was going to be presenting a resolution similar to ours to go ahead and deny their amended budget. But there are other cities, the city of Portland, I believe, is in favor. So.
Okay, so they're gonna give us just $6,000?
That's our percent. We pay a percent of their budget. They're funded through the taxing entities. So our percent, what our percent amount dollar figure totals is about $6,200. Now, if you were to go after the whole 740,000, that's more like 25, 30,000.
Let's go after the whole thing.
I don't think they're gonna do that one.
Well, Nueces County had to return their money back when the districts, their taxing entities, Nueces County Appraisal District was withholding their money to build a building. And as soon as there was a budget crunch and one of the bigger taxing entities needed the money, and they got a lot of bad press over it, and it forced their hand to go ahead and return the money back to the entities. So it's not unprecedented.
I'll make a motion, we deny their request.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Now we go on consider an act of renewing the health insurance contract with Humana.
with Humana. We are requesting that we renew our contract with Humana. They're not going to be increasing our rates. We've been with Humana 1 year. They have a very good wellness program. Obviously, I haven't taken advantage of it, but other employees have.
It's just been a year. Eric and Harvey.
I'm a stress eater, but other employees have taken advantage and they've set out like weight loss challenges and so forth. Like the staff here in my office has one, and so they're very proactive in the wellness program. And they're fun. They're not going to be increasing their rates, so we would like to stay with you. Sorry about that. I thought it'd be funny.
Are you gonna join any of their programs if we stay with them?
I do the wellness when they come here.
Oh, good.
I do that. Because they force me. Well, you know what? If we do the wellness, we get the reason why our rates didn't go up is because every quarter we have a wellness. And our HR person, Nora, is very big in calling people up and making sure people show up to it. And those, we get points for the more people participate, the more points. If you hook up your Apple Watch or whatever to their app, you get points for that, and the employees get compensated. You earn so many points, you get a gift card, and you earn so many more points, you get more gift cards or more items that you can get off their site. So it's an incentive program. Obviously, I've maybe gotten one gift card, but it's okay. But yes, it is a good insurance. It is a good program. Our employees really like it, and we're hoping to be able to stay with them and continue. They're not increasing the rates at all, and we're hoping to continue the wellness program and everything so that we could continue to have no rate increases.
I'll make a motion that we renew the contract with, health insurance contract with Humana.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, my final item.
Consider an act on request from Wounded Warriors Fan Club for the use of hot funds for the 6th Annual Coastal Bend Classic and Custom Car Show held on October 6, 2018.
Okay, you all set up a hot fund committee, and we met last week and unanimously voted. None of my other committee members, except Rosemary, who is the vice chair of the committee, is here, but no other members are here, but Rosemary is here. She was elected the vice chair of the committee. And the committee unanimously voted to go ahead and approve this request. The people from the event are sitting back there if you'd like to hear from them. They are requesting less money that they had the year before, which is a good thing, but they're only requesting $2,000 this year.
And it's a great show.
Yes,
Really do a
that's
good
what they
job.
said, so
Dale,
they're
do a
really
song and
excited.
dance.
What'd you say?
I want to see Dale do a song and dance.
Oh.
No, you don't? No song and dance? Okay. All right. That's worth a try.
Sandra, how much money do we have in the hot fund?
In the HUD funds, oh my God, okay. I'm trying to remember, because I 86,000, yes, because I calculated it for their meeting. $1,000, yes,
$1,000?
yes.
Okay.
Because every quarter,
Okay.
you get money from the hotel motel tax. 70% goes to the chamber,
Right.
and 30% goes to us. And really, this year, what we gave to Fishing with Vets was just the money that had already been given
That was, yeah.
last year. So we really haven't,
Used it
short of
that
paying just for the advertisement, the billboards, there really hasn't been, and we put in this year the shrimpery, I think, money. But yeah, it really hasn't, the security for the shrimpery that we paid from there, we really haven't paid anything else.
Well, I'm just
from them.
thinking, what's the dip gonna be because of the hotels being down? And that's something we just need to keep account and not.
Yes,
we
and
need to be careful
that's
with
why
the
I did the math before going into their meeting to see, okay, how much is in the bank account? We didn't have a budget. Now, for next year, we did a proposed budget. We did a budget for how much we are anticipating collecting, how much of that money is gonna go to the chamber, how much is it gonna go to advertising, and how much money we're gonna be able to have left that the hotel committee can go ahead and appropriate and recommend to the council.
I make a motion that we approve the request from the Wounded Warrior Fan Club of 2,000.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I need to abstain
right.
with that money. Like outlaws.
Okay, now we go to public safety.
Yeah, I'm gonna stand up, work
Uh-oh.
on that wellness.
Oh, my.
So I want to talk to you guys briefly, it should be brief, it's only about 42 slides, about DDAX, which DDAX is a new program that we're starting. We're actually kind of small to do DDAX, but I think it could be beneficial, maybe, but I think we've kind of also been doing it for the last few years, as you guys will see here shortly. What does DDAX stand for? And I've been asked this online for people that have been looking at our blotter. It stands for Data-Driven Approach to Crime and Traffic Safety. And basically what this philosophy is that if you focus on the areas where crime overlaps traffic issues like crashes, and if you focus on targeted efforts and police enforcement in those areas, you will basically reduce crashes, reduce crimes, and reduce social harm. Social harm is the effect that people feel from crime, and you'll improve quality of life. Like I said, you will see that we've done a little bit of that here shortly. Basically, we're doing targeted enforcement as opposed to random enforcement. Most police agencies or cops go out, they just work the streets, and they stop cars here, they stop cars there. It's not really targeted. So now we're going to start targeting some of these areas. And you will see those areas here shortly. It's community-based, evidence-based, as opposed to spur of the moment. And I put that spur of the moment in there is because we get people that say, hey, there's speeders all the time coming down Beasley. You guys need to be out here this time and this time. We're not going to focus so much on that, community-driven as far as that. We will get to that later down the road. But what we're trying to do is improve quality of life and reduce property crimes, and that's the focus of this. Because property crimes are very personal, and they seem to really hit a lot of folks. And this process of DDAX will continue to evolve over time. So currently, all property crimes, again, that's what we're focusing on, all property crimes in the city of Aransas Pass from 2013 to 2017. You see the red blobs, those are bad blobs. You don't want to see red blobs. Again, that's a culmination over so much time. Some of the areas you're going to see along the main stretch are going to be like your Bales, Walmart, and your stores and stuff like that. If you're going to look at all property crimes from 2013 to 2017, you're going to see that our busiest month is in August. Our busiest day of the week is on a Monday, and the busiest year we've had was on 2013. You'll see that downward trend. As you can see, property crimes has been a slow but steady downward trend over the last 5 years or so. Our best year was 2017. I hope that 2018 will be even better. Residential property crimes, these are very personal to folks. Some equate it to like being raped when they find that their home has been burglarized.
That's no fun.
Because it's so intrusive and personal to those folks. So these are just the residential property crimes during that same time frame. You see the heavy area, North 13th Street, on Cleveland, St. Laurent, whoever's talking about that. And then you got Billy's area.
What?
And you have that other area just down from Billy's area, and then along Ransom. So residential property crimes, again, August, Monday, in 2013 were the heaviest times. The best being 2017. So enforcement, where's our enforcement? Now, enforcement should overlap where you're seeing this activity. You know, the group that trained us on DDAX says, wow, you guys are pretty much already doing it. We're pretty much on par for where our activity is at. So that's the enforcement side of it. Now, enforcement, when's our heaviest? This is where we're off. Our heaviest enforcement's in March, mostly because of spring break. We beef up a little bit for that. And the busiest time of the day or the week is Saturday, and the busiest enforcement period was 2016. If you look at 2013, you see enforcement's down. That correlates with DDAX philosophy is when you have heavier enforcement, your crime traffic trend downward. So where are our DDAX zones? Somebody was like, you're going to share this with us. So we had to X out North 13th because as you heard earlier, there's not much there where we were having the problem. And we also X'd out St. Laurent. for this round. This is gonna run 6 months. We're gonna be in Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 3, and there is a focused effort by all staff. It's from the chief all the way down to the newest hire on the street. We all are committed to dedicating times in these areas. Where are those areas? South 7th to South Whitney, and West Wilson to West Nelson, and then you got South Whitney to South Houston, and West Stoddard to West McClung. If you envision that area in a box, those areas, and then you got down Ransom Road. So Ransom, you've got the ICW, you've got the boats, which also are victims, and then you got the RV park. So we're looking at all that area right around those zones. We'll see you again in 6 months. We'll tell you how it's doing. Now, we may have good results. We may have very slow or no results on this program. Again, a lot of what we've been doing over the last several years, we have been doing this not as intelligently, but the officers know where the problem areas are, and they know to focus in those areas. But we're going to try to use data to help drive us to where we need to be a little bit smarter for the next 6 months. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Now we go to city council or staff announcements.
The mayor and council want to, as I said earlier, I'd like to have a workshop meeting dealing with the budget, and that would be this Thursday, 5:30 p.m., and here in the council chambers. And we'll talk about some of the issues that Sandy was raising just a few minutes ago. The other issues, didn't know if I want to mention this, is on there because it's still being worked out, but I think I'll go ahead and mention it, and that is the EDA director will be here on Thursday also. 10 in the morning, if you can come by and just say hello, it'd be greatly appreciated. And then we're going to go to Con Brown and look at Con Brown. That's all I have.
Okay, now we go to citizen comments. Citizen comments are intended for the matter that is not scheduled on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes and state your name, address for the record. Be advised that the Texas Open Meeting Act prohibits the city council from responding and discussing your comments. The law authorizes the following: make a statement of factual information, recite existing policies, or advise that this subject may be placed on the agenda for a subsequent meeting. What?
I think Howard's got a comment.
Did we miss him?
Should we go back?
Okay.
Good.
Good.
Okay, there we go. We're gonna go to executive session, section 551.071 of the Texas Open Meeting Act to meet with its attorney to seek legal advice of a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the city council under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meeting Act relating to City of Aransas Pass versus J.M. Davidson LTD RLI Insurance Company and Naismith Engineering, cause number S-14-6278 CV-C in the 343rd Judicial District Court in San Francisco County, Texas. Number 2, John Lee Davis versus the City of Aransas Pass, ETAL, cause number 13-17-00455-CV in the 13th District Court of Appeals. Number 3, Natalia Lamas versus City of Aransas Pass, ETAL, cause number S-16-5735-CV-C in the 343rd Judicial District in San Francisco County, Texas. Then we go to number 4, Con Brown Harbor Lease, Aransas Marine Ways. Number 5, the collapse of water tower. We shall return at some point.
One more?
One more?
We've got one more, 15.2.
Okay, section 551.071 874, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations pursuant to section 551.071 of the Texas Open Meeting Act, to meet with its attorney to seek legal advice on a matter in which the duties of the attorney to the city council under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the state band of Texas clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meeting Act relating to economic development negotiations with Hal Jones Development LLC. I shall return. We're going to reconvene in open session to consider and take action, if any, on items discussed in executive session at 9:13 p.m.
How do we do that? Do we go individually?
Call it.
2 minutes.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the engagement agreement with McKibben Law Firm for the appeal on the plea to the jurisdiction, cause number S-14-6278-CV-C, City of Aransas Pass versus J.M. Davidson et al.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That was easy enough. Okay, I make a motion amending the harbor lease with Aransas Marine Ways to change rental payments from semi-annually to quarterly effective July 1, 2018, waiving the first quarter late fee to be paid on or before August 15, 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion, we adjourn this meeting.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.